The appetizer is prepared by Jonathan Eisman in Miami. His deep interest in Oriental cuisine is shown with Pacific Time hot pot with fresh mushrooms. Then Jamie Adams at Veni Vidi Vici in Atlanta resonates the Italian theme of the restaurant with roasted Guinea hen with summer squash and porcini mushrooms. Finally, dessert is made by Rebecca Tertian at Oxford, Mississippi. Flavored mascarpone mousse, one chocolate, the other frangelico, are layered in a martini glass. Pacific Time is the brainchild of Jonathan Eisman and was the first South Florida restaurant to receive 4 Mobile stars. A CIA graduate, Chef Eisman cooked in several New York City restaurants before locating in Miami. He describes his cooking as Asian-influenced American, like Pacific Time hot pot.
And we're going to start with 3 quarts of water. We have 2 teaspoons of salt. We have 3 weighed ounces of dried shaved bonito flakes. It's weighed, 3 ounces.
Bonita is a type of tuna. It's the strongest flavored and is used in dried form in Japanese cookery.
The minced garlic. Freshly minced ginger. We're going to have 3 teaspoons of straw mushroom soy sauce. And straw mushroom soy sauce is very concentrated and not as salty as standard soy sauce. So it's going to give the soup some great color and at the same time not be increasing the salt level too much. And we use 1 sheet of dried nori seaweed. Add that to the broth. And 1 teaspoon of freshly ground white pepper. Okay, we need to bring this to a boil and let the soup boil for approximately 2 minutes. And then we're going to shut the fire off, much like the wasabi broth, and let it sit for another 10 minutes and let the flavors infuse. If this is overboiled, it'll become very cloudy. Bonita is a tuna-like fish that the Japanese dehydrate on different flavored wood planks. And this broth tastes like it's made with smoked mushrooms. And it's actually fish-based. So it's very unusual that it has that smoky flavor. You'll smell it when we pass it. It fills the air with that great smoky flavor as they dry the wood on certain boards. This has now come to a boil, and we're going to let that boil for 2 minutes. And then we're going to shut the flame off. And it now needs to sit for 10 minutes, just like that. It's good to give it an occasional stirring. You don't want to really overstir it either, it'll cloud it. Just give it a little movement there. Make sure all the ingredients are getting cooked. Okay, while that's sitting for 10 minutes, we're going to make the garnishes for the soup. The garnishes that we're going to use today are freshly sliced shiitake mushrooms. These are not cooked, they're raw. And enoki mushrooms, once again, just fresh enoki mushrooms. We have some scallions or green onions. And we've gone to the store to get some basil, which will be here in just a minute. This is white radish, daikon, a large Japanese radish, and we can cut it into different shapes to float it into the soup for a nice, attractive garnish. Okay, and then you just put this into very thin slices. And that's the daikon garnish.
The chef ladles out some soup.
Into the chinois. You can use a double mesh strainer if you don't have a chinois. If you don't have a double mesh strainer, you can use a single mesh strainer and just do it twice. And you need to be careful on the bottom of the pot here. You want to actually leave the last few ounces because it's going to be quite cloudy. Have the sediment from the seaweed and the bonito. You don't want to press too hard on the ingredients in there. It will cloud your broth, but you can apply a little pressure. And that is the finished bonito broth. Okay, and for the final part, the serving of the hot pot, you want to ladle the hot broth into a warm bowl. Nice deep bowl is good and improves the presentation of this a lot. We add a few of the slices of shiitake. You don't want to over-garnish the soup either. The broth is really the emphasis here. Put a couple of little clumps of enoki mushrooms. A few pieces of the green onions. One or two basil leaves. And one or two pieces of your daikon radish. And that is the finished soup.
Veni Vidi Vici is a popular Italian restaurant in Atlanta and features the cooking of Jamie Adams. He is a correct choice. He worked his way through school in restaurants, then traveled and cooked in hotels, resorts, and restaurants in Italy. His entree is roasted guinea hen with porcini mushrooms. The chef bones the hen.
Okay, start at the very top of the breast, make an incision. Free the breast away from the carcass.
The leg and thigh are removed. The drumstick will not be used and the thigh will be boned.
Voila. Thigh and the breast, we're going to cut the wing off, and you need a heavier duty knife to just pop right through it like so.
Fresh rosemary, sage, and thyme are chopped. After seasoning the hen, the herbs are sprinkled on.
Just sort of press them in there so they're not going to come off. And the other side as well.
A sweet Georgia Vidalia onion is diced and will be joined with diced yellow summer squash. The onions are softened in a little olive oil and butter before the squash is added.
Okay, they're starting to get a little transparent and get lightly golden around the edges. We're going to add our zucchini. Toss that together. And we're going to allow that to simmer 3 or 4 minutes, just to lightly soften the zucchini, the yellow squash. You don't want them to be soggy and overcooked.
Meanwhile, porcini mushrooms will be cooked in olive oil, infused with a smashed garlic clove and a sprig of rosemary.
Infusing the oil with the rosemary and the garlic gives it a much more subtle flavor than using chopped up garlic and chopped rosemary, and I prefer it greatly. Careful not to let it get too brown. The rosemary is ready to come out. Discard that. Let the garlic continue to brown just a little bit. Pull it off the fire one moment. I like to squeeze out the garlic and get all the flavor out of it. Add our porcinis at a very high heat. You want them to caramelize and get color right away. See, the edges are getting nice and brown. You can see that they're nicely brown, and that's what you want to do. Okay, we're going to add in a little bit of our brunoise.
Finely diced carrot, celery, and onion.
A little salt and pepper. Now we're going to add a little bit of brandy. You have to be careful when you do this. We're going to get a big flame. Flambe off the brandy. And now we're going to add our veal stock. And we'll allow that to simmer for just a moment.
The Guinea hen is browned like the porcinis in garlic and rosemary-infused olive oil. Skin side first.
There we go. Have a beautiful, crispy, golden brown skin. That's what you want to get. Flip them over. We're going to let these go into the oven for about 7 minutes.
At 400 degrees. Parmesan cheese and breadcrumbs are added to the squash before presentation.
It's nicely seasoned. And what we're going to do is take a little bit of this zucchini, tuck it down into this that down into our little form. The breadcrumb and the cheese helps it hold its shape. Pull off our ring. A nice little thimble. Slice of the thigh. Breast, which is a beautiful medium rare, right on top. Finish with our first a little bit of the porcini jus over the hen and the porcinis themselves. And to finish, a nice little spear of rosemary. And voila, you have a classic Piemontese Guinea hen, squash, and porcini mushroom.
The little Mississippi town of Oxford boasts a dining jewel called the City Grocery. Owner-chef John Currants cut his business and culinary teeth at Commander's Palace with the Brennans. The dessert chef during this shoot was Rebecca Tertian. Here is her double-layer mascarpone martini.
Okay, the first step is the toasted phyllo dough with hazelnuts. You take 3 sheets of phyllo pastry and cut them in half, and have a parchment-lined baking sheet. Spread the first layer on the baking sheet, and you brush with melted butter. And it's okay if it's a little bit torn, because it all baked together. And then sprinkle with the ground hazelnuts and sugar.
This will be a garnish for the dish. 5 layers of phyllo dough are used.
This is the last layer. And try to make the nuts on top of the last layer the prettiest, I guess, because they're the ones that are going to be showing on the dessert. Cut it into the circles. And in rectangles. The circles are to go inside the mousse, and the rectangles are to go on top for garnish.
Bake at 350 for 10 to 15 minutes until golden brown.
First step to make the mascarpone mousse is you take the egg yolks and a half a cup of sugar, and you whisk them together, which we've already done, till smooth. And you whisk this mixture on top of the double broiler till it thickens a little bit. This is just to incorporate the sugar. And this is the mascarpone. It's a cup, 2 cups of mascarpone, and 1 cup of cream cheese at room temperature. If they're not at room temperature, they won't mix together. They'll kind of clump up. Teaspoon of vanilla.
Mascarpone is a double, sometimes triple rich Italian cream cheese.
And a half a cup of powdered sugar. Blend this all together till smooth. Make sure there are no lumps of powdered sugar in it before you're done.
After the cheeses have been thoroughly combined, the cool egg yolk mixture is added.
And you whip in the egg whites about half at a time.
The egg whites were beaten with powdered sugar.
You want to separate this into 2 bowls for the 2 different mousses. In the first bowl, you mix 2 tablespoons of frangelico.
Frangelico is the Italian hazelnut liqueur.
Second bowl is a tablespoon and a half of Chambord and 4 tablespoons of melted semi-sweet chocolate.
Chambord is a raspberry liqueur. The mousse layers are presented in a martini glass. They are separated by a phyllo disc.
And press it down so the edges will show the finished design. Add the raspberries on the outside of the glass so you can see those. You want to see all 3 layers when the dessert's done. And then you top it with the chocolate almost to the rim of the glass. Garnish with a few of the chopped hazelnuts from the phyllo pastry. And then place one of the triangles on top. Garnish with raspberries. There you have it.